Someone writes in, Stugotz, I love the pod, but it seems like they barely talk sports anymore. The local hour is usually ruled by Mike Ryan booster talk. Amin and Charlotte rarely talk actual hoops when in studio, just NBA gossip and headlines. Dan is super into politics, which is fine, but it just seems like there's been a shift. I'm not super into politics. A lot of people are complaining that we're talking way too much sports. I don't know how it can be both of those things, how it could be too little sports and too much sports, but it's been both of those things as a complaint the entire time we've been doing this.
You can't please everyone, Dan. Just keep talking.
Yes, I've been talking too much, but when you mention the idea that we talk too much politics around here, many in our audience have noticed what they feel to be a dissolution of our relationship with Aaron Rodgers, that the relationship has changed and the way that we talk about him has changed. I have been in agreement with him on a number of different things and in disagreement with him on a number of different things. But right now, what's happening with Aaron Rodgers is some people here today were calling him a loser. Now, I don't believe that for 1 second. He still remains, I'm not going to diminish the excellence at the position. Before Mahomes, he's the best I'd ever seen, and I'm including Brady in there. I know Brady won more, but just watching the artistry of quarterback. Yes, we could do it game by game, lost big games, and I wouldn't have a very good argument in saying that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. I would lose that argument, but just watching someone play, he's been amazing. But what's happened in New York this year, where he's been a spectacle of not playing, and now yesterday, finally, it was like, never mind, I'm not actually playing this year.
Well, the team's out of it, so.
Yeah, but all year it was to get back and defy science, and Fauci's an idiot, and we know that he and I do not align here, but there is plenty of room for disagreement and plenty of room for people to raise their hand, including me, on I was wrong about certain things here because I was trusting science. And I understand if you're someone who doesn't trust science, but we were in a fairly unknown time. And if you line up against me on that, totally understood. But my general relationship to what it is Aaron Rodgers is doing is not poisoned by Aaron Rodgers doing some things differently than I expected as he headed into midlife as an adult and into end of life as a quarterback and a quarterback career. My assessment of him, case to case on things that happened, isn't poisoned by the last 2 or 3 years of him behaving differently or having different opinions than me. Like, I'm not arriving at everything Aaron Rodgers related and saying anything in the realm of loser. Like, I don't know how it is that you guys are ending up there. How did you end up at loser?
Because he's acting like a big loser, Dan.
Oh, that's good point.
I mean,
Counterpoint.
Look, he is maybe my favorite quarterback I've ever watched play the game. I'm not saying
feels like
that,
there's a butt coming.
Well, I'm not saying.
We're
No, I'll
hedging
tell you.
here. A big butt.
I'm not saying.
Guys, you can say whatever you want. He's never coming on this show again.
Yeah. Is that right?
That's not true.
I don't think he's
It's
coming on
not
this show
true.
again.
No.
Do you know something we don't, Dan?
Well,
you
I
said that's
do.
right, like a very,
I'm asking, is that right? Because I don't know that to be true. And there are going to be very few words. Man, do you remember that I was praying at a shrine in my house that we released a video with Aaron Rodgers the first time he disappointed us? I don't believe that my relationship with Aaron Rodgers is ruined, but it wasn't much of a relationship. It was just an on-air relationship.
I can tell you, as the person who communicates with Rodgers' team and the Jets media relations staff, that Rodgers has no beef with you. He is happy to come back on this show once he is playing football again. I will also tell you that I've been angling for God Bless Football for him to come on that show, and he's happy to do that as well. So there is no beef, I'm telling you, with Aaron Rodgers, with anyone on this show. There isn't.
Are you sure that you weren't requesting Jake Owen? You don't know whether you were requesting the right person or not. Because it would make sense, but also I don't believe that much of what is happening around here is getting to him, and most of what gets aggregated and associated to me is not something that I have said. It's just something one of you have said, so I'm sure that it's going to be a headline now. Le Batard, Rodgers is a loser.
How about this? Le Batard. Rodgers is a winner. I like that. He won this whole thing.
Positive.
Yes.
He got exactly everything
Right.
that he wanted to get out of this.
Yes.
Just
Right?
attention.
Yeah.
Just
Like,
attention.
No,
That's
he
it.
won. He came back. He
No, he
almost
didn't.
made a miraculous comeback. He
Almost.
didn't because the doctors didn't let him.
Almost,
But he's
so
a
he
month
lost.
away, and the rules really worked against him on this one because he only had that 21-day window. And he told us he's about 3 or 4 weeks away from being 100%. Unfortunately, 3 or 4 weeks away from being 100% falls outside of the 21-day window. So, like, it's not his fault. If anything, you could say he was a great teammate over this period of time. He was there on the sidelines. A lot of times when people are there doing rehab, you don't see them forever. He's there with headsets on. People have said time after time he's a bad teammate. He doesn't want to mentor Jordan Love. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do that. I mean, he seemed to take Zach Wilson under his wing. He was there every game trying to be supportive. You could see him rolling his eyes in disgust, but he never threw a hissy fit. He never really said much of anything after some of these games. He'd just appear every Tuesday on Pat McAfee, and he'd, say whatever he'd say there. And then he'd just come back and be a good teammate. We heard from Rich Cimini. He looked great last week. He jumped up, made a one-handed interception. I mean, I don't see how you can look at any of this and think that Aaron Rodgers lost in any way. He got hurt. He played 4 snaps of a season, but we've been talking about him the entire time. If anything, it sounds like he's going to come back stronger than he ever has been before.
course.
Everybody's praising how he's fixed science in a way. Like, he has a whole different way of recovering from injuries. We thought that it was going to be a year or so to recover from this injury. Aaron showed us that it could be, a couple of months plus a 21-day window plus 3 weeks after that. So, like, if anything, I don't see how you could say he lost. He was the big winner here.
This is how you get a guest, Dan. I taught him well. So proud of you.
Just compromise all your principles. Say whatever needs to be said at a microphone. So
You
that
said
you
that,
can
not
make
me.
the request.
Le Batard, all of the things I just said.
Le Batard, you could have that sentence should have ended earlier. By surrounding myself with you guys, it's just Le Batard, :
I just can't really take seriously who this guy has been throughout this season. Not as a football player. Hold on.
You can't take someone else seriously.
Buddy
I
the
can't.
Elf can't take this
dressed
seriously.
as an elf.
I am dressed as an elf. It's not my fault.
Right.
I don't have a name or a face. I have to be somebody else. Look,
I want to hear you out on this. Just make it short.
the part that's
Can you?
Can I?
Can you?
Billy just spoke for 4 minutes.
But he can.
His raw
Dan,
facts.
your
You expect
preamble
that
was
from him,
4
though.
minutes.
That's correct. It is my show. Like, I mean,
The part of this that is frustrating is not that he is a bad teammate, is not that he's bad at football. It's that he spent this entire year, as he has for years now, lying right to our faces about the status of his health.
Chris Cody tried to clip that Dan out of there.
Yeah, he did.
Just be directed at you, but he hasn't gotten good enough at being able to clip the songs before they embarrass you. Go ahead and finish your point, Jeremy. What is? Are you the only one? Does anyone here agree with you on this?
Doesn't seem like it.
Absolutely not.
The frustration that I have just comes from, look, you have a major platform in so many different ways. He lied to us about his vaccination status when it first came up and then said, well, I'm doing things differently. Yes, he lied. Like, we have to stop with questioning that. He lied
lie.
right to our faces when asked directly about the status.
You.
Didn't lie, though.
It was like play action. Is play action
Little
a
play
lie?
action.
That's a great
That's
question.
really a good question.
That's
You
a
should
stuck
put
it
that
right
on
in the
poll.
gut and he
Is
pulled it
play
out.
action a
Yeah,
lie?
yeah.
Le
I'm
Batard.
stuck on that now.
Le
That's
Batard,
good.
is play action a lie?
Yeah.
Awful announcing. Write the article.
What he actually did there was he changed his cadence. Like,
Yeah.
Like 20?
Tried to get you to jump. Yeah.
Like 20?
And he got us to jump. And
Change
he
the
continues
protection.
to get the New York media to jump at every single thing that he says. It's
52,
infuriating.
immunized, blue 52.
Encroachment.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is play action an outright lie or an omission of truth? A slight omission of truth, because he was trying. You are correct, and we seized on that because God Almighty, it's the cover up is always worse than the crime.
He just read the room, right? He's just like, I didn't get vaxxed. I don't think I can say that.
I don't want to deal with. I mean, what he's
Deal with it later.
Look, I don't blame anyone right now, anywhere in America or the world, for being afraid of the angry mob being unpredictable. Like that I'm not going to blame anyone for.
But isn't also part of it on us for caring anything about what Aaron Rodgers says?
Of course, that's the whole point. And he's going
So
and
we
standing
let
up-
ourselves down.
But he's going on platforms and doing things that are actually bad. He's calling out Anthony Fauci years later for doing the best that he can when people have threatened that guy's life. Like, this isn't stuff to mess around with. And I get it completely that I can't.
You look like
finish
an
this.
elf.
I know this is the problem.
I saw myself in the camera. I can't do it.
It sounds like we're the losers and the liars.
I'm the loser. I'm the loser. I'm the liar. Okay,
Now
I'll
you
get
get
it.
behind it. Now you just gave up.
We're the losers. Like people.
I don't know about we.
Society.
Look at Jeremy right now. The idea of Jeremy getting the high ground morally as he calls an MVP of football a loser while dressed as an elf.
It's football, man. Who cares? You're taking it way too
A
seriously.
nameless elf.
The GoFundMe is going really well,
You're
guys.
getting
lots
some
of
money.
donations
This
for me
is
to get the touche
ridiculous.
tache. shirt.
Dozens of
What
dollars.
does it cost to change your identity? You should do it for the show. Change your name.
What are we going to change it to?
Jeremy Touche.
There we go.
Thank you, Billy, for throwing us to the end of a segment with just total
close.
dead fish. After spending much of this century, Stugotz, watching Bill Belichick and the Patriots dominate the AFC East in a way that was a cheat code to the Super Bowl, making Tom Brady the greatest winner of our time, somehow supplanting Michael Jordan in just improbability of winning when you're not supposed to have such a disproportionate impact on the result in football as you do in basketball. Michael Jordan, the best player in the world, best player in the universe. Of course he's going to win. There are 5 players on the court at any time. Football is super weird, super random, one-game samples. The measurement system is screwed up. But we've had the knowledge for 25 years that Bill Belichick is good at what he does. This has been without dilution. Last week, there was a report not even covered by this show that Bill Belichick is going to be fired at the end of the year. Jay Glazer has told us that there would not be a line of suitors for Bill Belichick if he became available. This was 2 months ago, Jay Glazer was saying this, that this is not the next evolution of the young coach, that the damage done over the last couple of years to Belichick's reputation is real. And now Stugotz is saying, as he did earlier in the show, how many teams would fire their coach right now if Bill Belichick was available? Because at one time, the answer to that was all of them. At one point in our lifetimes, and it wasn't that long ago, it was a couple of years ago, all of us would say, Belichick is an upgrade over whoever your coach is. And trust me when I say this, Andy Reid was not in that conversation. Andy Reid needed his modern Brady to make an appearance before Andy Reid made an appearance as this guy's one of the best. We spent a lot of time questioning, not people in football who knew how ahead he was on scheming and everything else, but there were a lot of people publicly questioning the greatness of Andy Reid until Mahomes became Mahomes.
I think Reid might be the only safe coach in the game I'm about to play with you. But to your point, okay? To your point, I believe that Belichick was such a hot commodity, was considered the greatest coach of all time, that even after the Giants beat them twice in the Super Bowl, if you called the Giants the next day and said, hey, get rid of Tom Coughlin because Bill Belichick's coming to town, the Giants would have done so. I mean, do you agree?
You're saying Andy Reid right now? I think there are
He's
a lot.
safe. He's
No,
safe.
but I think there are a lot who are
Nah,
safe.
I'm not so certain.
I don't think the Dolphins would want Belichick right now.
If the Dolphins get bounced out in the first round of the playoffs and Bill picks up the phone and he calls Stephen Ross and says, I want to be your coach.
You're crazy.
Wait a minute. You're saying weeks from now. I'm saying
crazy?
right now. I'm saying the phone call is being made today.
You're saying if the season ended today, Dan?
Oh, wow.
Oh, 2 games now.
You got to let the season play out, though, for this game to work. Like, if you want to do it season ended today, I'll do it that way. But what if the Dolphins go on to win the Super Bowl? Then they would not fire Mike McDaniel.
But what are you doing?
Other than Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel's offense is like the best. Like in terms of an offensive mind that other teams would want.
Hear me out, okay? Dolphins go to the playoffs, lose their first playoff game, get blown out. Belichick picks up the phone, calls Stephen Ross, and says, I want to be your coach. What is Stephen Ross doing?
No, thank you.
Are you kidding me?
Maybe defensive coordinator.
Are you kidding me?
That's insulting. I couldn't even say that.
I have a team that would right now fire their coach, leading their division, would fire him right now to get Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
right
the Bucks.
Or the Saints, because they're tied at 7-7.
The Dallas Cowboys.
There you go.
Jerry Jones
There you
would
go.
fire Mike McCarthy
Yep.
in 1 second
Yes.
to make Bill Belichick the coach today.
That's tremendous.
Now,
You're
what
so
if-
right. A 10-4.
Right. What if McCarthy wins the Super Bowl, though?
No, but we're playing today, though.
Still might
Okay,
happen.
today.
You're playing the
Still
wrong
might
game,
happen.
Steve.
Stugotz, why are you?
Well, it's my game. You guys have changed the game. I wanted the season to play out.
it's
You're doing
your-
it as
no,
if the season ended
it's
today.
your game, and you're changing your game.
Oh, I'm not.
Well, but you're giving us hypothetical examples about who would replace their coach
Well,
with
it's
a
all
disastrous
hypothetical.
finish.
It is, Dan. Yes.
Also, you guys think Jerry Jones is the guy that's going to bring in the big egoed coach?
That coach, yes. That coach, yes.
I'm not sure. I'm with Billy on this. Jerry Jones prefers a puppet. He does not want somebody
He
who
had
wants
Parcells there.
more power.
It is interesting to hear the way Mike McDaniel talks to his players on Hard Knocks. Like
Right.
he calls Tua bro.
Right.
And I was watching last night, and I'm just thinking, it was the first time it really set in with me, like, oh, wow, like, we're talking generations here. Like, he is relating to these players. Like, Belichick's not calling Mac Jones bro.
Let me try this one. Belichick calls the Bills and says, hey, I want to be your head coach. Do they get rid of Sean McDermott? Because I believe they would. I do. And I think that's where Belichick should go, because you want to apply maximum pain to the Patriots on the way out. You do.
Should we play it this way? I have 7 teams written right here that I don't think would take Belichick.
Wow. Wait,
Can I
no,
get-
that's a different game.
I mean, it's the same game.
It's the same game.
You want me to give them to you?
Sure.
The Dolphins, the Ravens, the Steelers.
I need the results, though. You guys are crazy doing it this way.
That's so small. You want a 3-game sample size to really make this decision.
Well, no, if Dan Campbell gets knocked out in the first round of the playoffs and Belichick calls the Lions and says, I want to be your head coach, I'm assuming the Lions say yes.
The Lions were on my list.
Stugotz, not everyone who runs a business does so in the non-leadership fashion of whatever happened in one game is telling me what I'm doing for the next 10 years. Not everyone does it that way. I understand
But
why
this is Belichick.
Okay, but let's please, for just a second, imagine the scenario that you're describing, because as you play this ridiculous and fun game, I can't believe that it's December of 2023 and I'm playing this stupid game about Bill Belichick.
I'm so proud
like
of
the
you.
person that we're talking about. But no, it's not the game. I'm not enjoying the game that you want to play. I'm enjoying the absurdity of what does someone have to do to be enduringly great in this market space for people not to do the stupidity of, Dan, I'm not asking this question now. I'm asking this question after you've had a disaster of a result at the end. Do you still want Belichick? I'm saying right now, Stugotz, from the position of whatever it is that Belichick is, 2-11, or what have they done? They're one of the worst teams in the league.
They are
3-11.
Yeah.
How much
6 rings.
has his value actually been diminished that if that phone call is being made today, and you are seeing in this division, Stugotz, at the top of it, there is a coach in the Dolphins who is clearly better at offense, like obviously better at the coaching of offense
Right.
than what it is that the Patriots have. I'm wondering how much Bill Belichick has actually diminished his value when we can combine Jay Glazer saying there's not a line out the door for this person with what Chris Cody is pointing out. Brian Flores did not work with Tua doing it the Belichick way. Right now, what's happening in Foxborough must be the bleakest of gray experiences, going to work in the morning for Bill Belichick when you know your team's ass And Jabril Peppers has had to say out loud, "You're lucky we asked," and then had to apologize to Bill Belichick's face when that became a viral moment, because he is saying that the Patriot way is now a dead end toward ass crack. That the Patriot way ends in the cul-de-sac of there is someone's ass and we're inside it, and it's gray and bleak and cold, and also you don't reach today's generation of players with that style. Better for a coach to be more of an administrative assistant, a helpful supporter, an ally, human resources. It's a weird thing to say, but that style is going to work better with young people than military discipline.
You're saying the style of just throw down your rings, that doesn't work anymore? Riley did it for LeBron James. It worked there.
I think this Belichick conversation is really just having amongst like podcast hosts and other teams. I actually think that Patriots fans have perspective on this. A lot of Patriots fans I talk to are like, Bill can do whatever the hell he wants. I think the people that are really emotional about this do have what you think Bill Belichick deserves. I think this is more reporters, people who don't care about the Patriots, who are looking for the juicy headline of, ooh, Belichick's on the way out.
Oh, but you're saying that, and yet the report is he is on the way out, and Jay Glazer, who knows it, is telling you not a line of people. Like that represents, that's not just fans emotional talking or not talking. That I wouldn't assume that a Patriot fan base has perspective. I'm sure they're spoiled and used to winning.
There might not be a line today, but there could be a line, right?
Yeah.
Could it just
After
be
the season.
Could it just be people want to be around happy people? And you're just like,
No.
who's my next coach? That guy seems pretty miserable.
I don't
Right.
think that's how they're making.
But he's
these
great at
decisions.
winning, you know?
Is
So
he
what-
though?
what
But
are
not
the-
without Brady.
What are these lists? Chris has a list of people that definitely wouldn't take him, and Stugotz has a list of people that would.
So the Bengals get knocked out first round of the playoffs. If Belichick calls the Bengals, Zach Taylor might be the coach of the year getting to the playoffs with Jake Browning, okay?
He is not on my list. I'm with you on that. I think the Bengals could be an option for
The Bengals
Belichick.
could be an option, right? Because
Wow.
Belichick needs to choose wisely here.
Yeah.
This is a big decision
Legacy.
for Bill Belichick. You're right.
It's got to be the Chargers. Like, that's where he's
Well, that
gonna
would be
end
the
up.
obvious and easy one,
Yeah.
right? But we keep hearing the Commanders, which seems ridiculous.
So he's not going back to Cleveland.
That would be an interesting one.
Stefanski's done a good job.
Yeah.
Stefanski has his team in the playoffs.
But would you fire Stefanski to
No.
get Bill Belichick?
No.
Really?
What?
Really.
I'm
would not.
interested.
Tony, that's crazy.
What?
I would not.
What?
I like Stefanski. I like the offense that he's running. He could do it with Joe Flacco. Like, he can kind of
Tony's
do it with
into
anybody.
these offensive minds. You probably say, are you saying this about Minnesota? Because they got one
I
of
like
those
Kevin
guys.
O'Connell,
Yeah,
too.
they got one of
Yeah,
those
I like
guys
Kevin
too.
O'Connell.
You'd keep Kevin O'Connell over him?
Yeah.
No.
But Kevin O'Connell and Stefanski are kind of in this Mike McDaniel. They just haven't popped yet. Like, their offenses haven't
Here-
really.
Now we're playing the game, boys. I
Yeah,
mean,
we are playing it.
Well, here's the game. Chris said that the Steelers for sure wouldn't. And
Oh,
I'm
for
not-
sure. For me, it's
they're
Andy-
last in the AFC North right
For
now.
me, the three safest coaches in the
don't-
NFL: Tomlin, Shanahan, and Andy Reid.
I don't think Steelers fans agree with you on that.
What if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl again with Kyle Shanahan?
He's fine.
Okay.
Stugotz.
Not so sure.
Stugotz. Here's the funny thing about what you're doing. Any season that ends with a disaster at the end, like the hypothetical disaster you're giving every team at the end,
Yeah.
then that coach comes open to questioning and vacancy.
But that's reality, Dan. That's
Yes,
what happens.
exactly.
People are emotional at that time.
Here's why it's not reality. It hasn't happened. He's creating the hypothetical under which it would
It hasn't
happen.
happened yet.
The Cowboys win the Super Bowl.
Takes one.
And Belichick calls Jerry Jones and says, I want to be your head coach. They've won the Super Bowl. Does he get rid of Mike McCarthy?
I am not having an honest conversation in good faith with serious people
Yeah.
when they look me in the face and say they'd rather have Stefanski over Belichick.
That
It
was
was
crazy. by
ridiculous.
Tony.
What?
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he is not a serious
Kevin
person.
Stefanski.
This guy right
is a
here,
good coach.
not a serious
He
person.
is a good coach. Good defense, good offense. I like Stefanski.
Unfortunately or fortunately, based on your perspective, we have now wound up the Stugotz take machine, and it is pinballing all over the room. Stugotz ended the last segment by saying, matter-of-factly, while waving an assortment of sausages around, great game we played there, guys. Don't know the game that we played, but it was great. I love playing games, and it was a lot of fun. And now Stugotz has an assortment of takes because yesterday, after saying the Clippers are going to win the championship, Stugotz has now identified that the way he wishes to age in this space is to just say things that are more and more extreme and make you check on them in 7 or 8 years. And he says the Clippers are going to win the championship this year. And you want to take a guess on how many championships he already has Anthony Edwards winning, even though Kevin Durant in his personal record book has not won any.
These are bold takes, okay? I said last week that Bryce Young would be better than C.J. Stroud. Zach Wilson would be a top 5 quarterback one day in the NFL. And yesterday I did say the Clippers would win an NBA championship this year. The Anthony Edwards one is one I have shared with Dan. Dan is asking you because I have not shared it with you guys. But I think he's next.
But you've shared, is this just a rinse repeat on the Giannis? He's going to win the next 10?
I don't know. Take a guess. See what happens. I love a good game.
He's given a number. He's got a number of championships for Anthony Edwards. Everyone's saying he is next. The Timberwolves are legitimately good. We'll see if Gobert can stay on the court at the end of playoff games because their defensive efficiency is great, and they've only lost, 5 times all season. They seem Karl Anthony Towns as an ancillary player who is fitting a role is a very good ancillary player who can fit that role. The Timberwolves seem very good.
The thing is, you guys don't seem to understand the game that Stugotz is playing, right? So, like, a segment ago, it was if the season ended today. What Stugotz is playing is if 10 seasons from now end today. This is what will have happened over the span of those 10 seasons with the information I have today.
You say it now, and if it sticks, then you throw it in everyone's face. If it doesn't, then everyone forgets about it.
But if it doesn't stick, it's not your fault because it's what would have happened if 10 seasons from now ended today. Right. And what happens in those 10 seasons, you can't control. Yeah. It's not what happened today.
So two championships.
Nah, it's
for
too low.
Anthony
That's not
Edwards?
hot takey enough.
No.
I'm going to say
cold.
4.
Oh.
Warmer.
Oh, that sounds like he's getting there.
Dan, 6, 8. What do you want to say?
4 is the number that he gave me. He's got him winning 4 championships.
Way to ruin the game, Chris.
That's low for Stugotz. Usually he goes he's going to win 9 of them.
Yeah, but that would put him ahead of Jordan, and that's never going to happen.
I think it's because he's being serious about this. I
I
think
am
he
being
really
serious.
thinks Anthony Edwards is going
I'm
to win
actually
4
being
championships.
serious. The guy is so good.
How many
Spectacular.
ISTs?
A-Rod would be fixing the Timberwolves as the owner of the Timberwolves.
Can I tell you how weird it is to see A-Rod sit courtside in his perfectly groomed and coiffed suits and hair and everything, sitting courtside at Heat games rooting against the city of Miami? It is so bizarre to watch him fist pump when Anthony Edwards is making shots at the end of the games against the Heat. Absolutely strange.
There's more than one of him, right? Like A-Rod. There's more than one A-Rod.
Like the Cansecos?
Like, how is he? No, like the Jackson 5. Like, how is Barry Jackson in 5 places at once? How is A-Rod everywhere? How is he in Minnesota courtside, and he's also on the inside the NBA set in Atlanta? How is, sometimes maybe we look around and maybe catch a glimpse of A-Rod. Like, how is he everywhere at the same time? I don't understand how's he at the AAA? How is he at baseball games? How is he at the Miss America pageant? How is he everywhere?
Who are the teams that you guys look at and you're like, they're not good? I don't care what players they have, because Minnesota's kind of in this category for me, but they're
Charlotte.
not.
That's a different game.
I have a better one, and they're actually kind of good. The Orlando Magic are never good. That's it.
No, they're good this year.
Yeah,
They're
this
good,
year, and they've been good
they're
before.
young, but I'm
Yes.
gonna put Charlotte in that class.
Never good.
Just teams, are there any football teams that it's just no,
The Jets.
you're not good?
Yeah.
I'm doing Charlotte, by the way, throughout history.
Forever.
I'm not doing just Charlotte basketball. I'm talking.
You're talking about the
I'm just
Panthers?
talking
How about the Wizards?
Sports. I'm
the
talking
city?
about Washington Wizards are pretty good too, as a nominee. But since we are speaking of Anthony Edwards, how old is he? Can you guys look that up for me? Because he was in a controversy here, Stugotz. And salute to James Harden for really tightening up his private behavior so that this kind of stuff never leaks out into the public in a way that is embarrassing. But a couple of young players, Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson, they have had their bedroom habits spill out in front of people because, they do something in the DMs that can be traced. And Anthony Edwards, who right now is in a similar position to the one that Ja Morant was in last year, Stugotz, when he screwed it up with bad social media behavior, where Michael Jordan made the template for this. If you're simply excellent at your sport, we can write the commercials around you and wait for you to grow up and create the mythology around you that becomes your image and becomes an economy. Ja Morant cost himself tons of money in the optics of everything that happened with him last year. And Anthony Edwards had leaked a DM conversation in which he told a woman, get an abortion, LOL. And what you saw happen after that was the economy around Anthony Edwards going out and saying, hey, that's not who this guy really is. The guy in the DMs saying, get an abortion, LOL, which sounds to me like the guy really is that if he's telling a woman.
I mean, he typed it out and he sent it.
Right, but this has also been typed out from his account afterward, and it was sent.
He's 22, by the way.
He says, I made comments in the heat of a moment that are not me and that are not aligned with what I believe and who I want to be as a man. All women should be supported and empowered to make their own decisions about their bodies and what is best for them. I am handling my personal matters privately and will not be commenting on them any further at this time. Getting that real a look at the underbelly of where sports fame is and the dismissiveness of a sentence of get an abortion, LOL, hugely damaging to whatever it is that you want to represent publicly as yourself, your team, and your league. To be that age and come into that much money and try to traverse the gulf, Stugotz, between fans want you to be somebody who's a symbol for their city, and there are problems when you make money playing a game and have great riches and you treat other human beings like that in private. Whatever that sentence represents tells me more than the PR statement that comes afterwards saying, that's not who I am. Well, what do you mean that's not who you are?
Well, the PR statement is cleaning up the mess.
I know,
Dan,
but what do
right?
you mean that's not who you are? Like, I don't know how that gets said that dismissively under any context. Like, you could be arguing with a woman in the DMs. You could be arguing with the mother of your potential child and be emotional. But get an abortion, LOL, is not a mischaracterization. You wrote that. That was not a heat of the moment thing. That's something that you actually thought that we now are privy to that allows us to look inside the mind and the life of a 22-year-old who needs to be better than that. Like, just not just publicly, though obviously publicly, but be better than that just as a human being.
There's a bit of like Tom Brenneman vibes. Where he's like, that's not who I am, even though that's what I said. I don't really believe that. And it just makes me think, like, throughout the years of any sport, we never had access to people leaking DMs, leaking texts like this, right? Imagine the stuff that we could have seen back in the day.
Oh, Tony, Michael Jordan would get exposed all the time by the National Enquirer, and then the machine would get to work and be like,
Correct.
It's the National Enquirer. It's not real. There would all sorts of stuff would be reported. And it was never the mainstream media reporting it. It was always somebody tabloidy, but the stories were true. Like, the tabloids didn't have the credibility that you needed to have, but Michael Jordan's reputation was never damaged by it because his machine would get to work and we wouldn't see this particular griminess, Stugotz. Anthony Edwards, the opportunity he has right now, Stugotz, Steph's old. LeBron's the oldest player in the league. The Suns don't even look right because of what is around Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. It is time, just like in football, the young quarterbacks are taking over for the old quarterbacks who had the old commercials.
Well, the backups are taking over.
And the young quarterbacks.
Yep.
And the Burrows.
Yes.
And in this sport, Anthony Edwards clearly, everyone says this, he's next. All he has to do is win at the rate that he is winning. But you're going to see things as he becomes more famous, as a 22-year-old becomes more famous, that are going to show you what he is at 22. That doesn't mean it's what he's going to be 10 years from now. It doesn't mean that he's not going to mature out of this.
It's who he is now.
It doesn't even mean that he's not going to learn from what this was. But I don't think there are a lot of 22-year-olds who can handle the general temptation that comes with what being Anthony Edwards is right now. I have not met a lot of them, and when I do meet them, I'm always stunned that they might be capable of handling that. But I would say there aren't a lot of 42-year-olds or 62-year-olds that can have their life altered in that fashion, where you go from being someone who doesn't have any intrinsic value to others growing up outside of loved ones to monster fame where everybody wants to be around you, and now every sentence in your DMs is up there as a defining characteristic for who you are.
No more privacy. LeBron handled it well, but I'm not certain he's the rule. He's probably the exception. He's one of the few who handled it very, very well.
Harden too. Like Harden escapes all this. Like all the stuff that we hear about Harden. He loves to party, he loves to go out. He's got the strip club banner in his name. Like we haven't heard anything about Harden ever.
Jordan Schultz is reporting the Chargers are interested in hiring Jim Harbaugh. Oh, new game.
What if Belichick calls them?
What team fires their coach for Harbaugh?
The Ravens is the juiciest one.
Oh my God. Could you imagine? Oh, my God. John chokes again and Jim comes in.
Raven.
Wow.
Then who hires John?
Michigan. Oh, the old switcheroo, Dan.
Wow.
Why do you guys care so much about coaching transactions?
So much fun. This is so fun.
Again, I remind you, the guy who was said to be the best for the last 20 years is 3-8 at the bottom of the AFC East, 3-11.